Put the gun down, now, or you will not leave this station alive.
Put the gun down, now, or you will not leave the station alive. I said, move, girl. This doesn't concern you. It concerns me when a child is shaking behind my legs. It concerns me when two grown men corner a woman alone on a platform at 1 a.m. So I am not moving. And if you take one more step, I will scream loud enough to wake the dead in the cemetery 3 blocks over. You have a lot of fire for someone holding a cello case, but fire gets put out. Step aside. No, then have it your way. That was the moment the safety clicked off. That was the moment Nia thought she was going to die. But she didn't move. She didn't flinch. Because sometimes courage isn't about being brave. It is about being so tired of the world pushing you around that you finally decide to push back, even if it kills you. But she didn't die that night, because the shadows were listening, and the shadows had a master. Before we dive into the story of survival, betrayal, and a love so dangerous it could burn a city to the ground, I need you to do something for me. If you have ever felt invisible, if you have ever stood alone against a storm because you had no one else to stand with, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel, because this story is for you. This is for the ones who found their family in the dark. Let's begin. The wind in Chicago does not just blow. It hunts. It seeks out the gaps in your coat, the holes in your shoes, the cracks in your spirit. It was a Tuesday in November, the kind of night where the air tasted like ice and exhaust fumes. Nia was walking home, if you could call it that. Home was a studio apartment in Bronzeville with a radiator that hissed but gave no heat, and a landlord who looked at her like she was a stain on his floor. 20 years old. That is supposed to be the prime of your life. That is supposed to be parties and college classes, and mistakes you can laugh about later. But for Nia, 20 was just another number in a countdown to nothing. She adjusted the straps of her cello case on her back. It was heavy, heavier than usual tonight. Maybe it was the exhaustion. Maybe it was a memory of her Uncle Pascal's voice from 2 days ago, echoing in her head like a curse. You are ungrateful, Nia. I brought you from Cameroon. I paid for your plane ticket. I gave you a roof. And this is how you repay me? By refusing to work in the shop? By chasing this foolish dream of music? I am studying nursing. Uncle, the music is just, it is a waste. You are a waste. Get out. Don't come back until you learn your place. Nia shivered, pulling her thrift store coat tighter. Her place, according to Uncle Pascal. Her place was on her knees, scrubbing floors, grateful for scraps. But Nia had a fire in her belly that the Chicago winter couldn't freeze. She had her cello. She had her nursing books. And she had her pride. She descended the stairs into the Washington and Wells subway station. It was desolate. The fluorescent lights buzzed like angry hornets. The platform was empty, just a stretch of dirty concrete, and the distant rumble of a train that was running late. Again, Nia set the cello case down. She checked her phone. 1% battery. Perfect. Just enough time to check the time, and realized she had missed the last express train. She would have to wait 30 minutes for the local. She leaned against a pillar, closing her eyes. Just for a second, just to rest. Then she heard it. Slap, slap, slap. The sound of running shoes hitting concrete. Fast, frantic, terrified. Nia opened her eyes. At the far end of the platform, a blur of pink and white was hurtling toward her. It was a child, a little girl, maybe 6 years old. She was running as if a monster was snapping at her heels. Her hair was a tangled mess. Her expensive dress was torn at the hem, and she was clutching a stuffed rabbit that was missing an ear. She saw Nia. She didn't scream. She didn't ask for help. She just scrambled behind Nia's legs and wedged herself between the cello case and the wall. She curled into a tiny ball, pressing her face into her knees, shaking so violently that Nia could hear her teeth chattering. Hey! Nia crouched down instantly. Hey, petite. It is okay. Who is chasing you? The girl said nothing. She looked up, her eyes wide pools of absolute terror. She pressed a finger to her lips. Shoo! Then came the heavy footsteps. 2 men appeared at the top of the stairs. They were not police. They were not concerned parents. They were dressed in dark suits that cost more than Nia's tuition. They moved with a predatory grace, Scanning the platform. There, one of them pointed. Behind the case. Nia stood up. Her heart was hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. Every instinct she had screamed at her to run, to grab her cello and sprint, to not get involved. This was Chicago. You mind your business if you want to see tomorrow. But looking down at that trembling child, Nia felt a crack in her armor. She remembered what it felt like to be small and scared and have the adults in your room look at you like a problem to be solved. She stepped in front of the girl. Gentlemen, Nia's voice trembled, but she pitched it low and hard. You are scaring her. The taller man sneered. He had a scar running through his eyebrow. Step aside, girl. We are just taking her home to her father. She doesn't look like she wants to go home. That is not for you to decide. Move, or we move you. Nia gripped the neck of her cello case. It was heavy wood, hard enough to break a nose if she swung it right. I am not moving. There are cameras here. I will scream. The man laughed. A dry, ugly sound. Cameras. You think we care about cameras? You think anyone is coming to save you? He reached into his jacket. Nia saw the glint of metal. A gun. Oh, God. This was it. She was going to die on a dirty platform for a stranger. The man raised a weapon. I am going to count to 3. 1. Nia didn't move. She spread her arms, shielding the girl. 2. The air in the station suddenly changed. It got colder, heavier. The hair on the back of Nia's neck stood up, but not because of the gun, because of something else. Something worse. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, echoing from the stairs behind the men. A voice cut through the silence. It was soft, smooth like velvet, but it carried the weight of a tombstone. You drew a weapon. In public, against a civilian. The 2 men spun around. Their arrogance evaporated instantly, replaced by a fear so palpable Nia could smell it. Boss. The man with the gun stammered. We found her. She is right there. The girl was interfering. The new arrival stepped into the light. He was a masterpiece of danger. Tall, dressed in a long black wool coat that swirled around his ankles. His face was angular, handsome in a way that hurt to look at, with cheekbones that could cut glass and eyes that were endless, dark voids. He didn't look at the gunman. He didn't look at Nia. He looked at the weapon. I gave you a simple order, the man said. Find my daughter. Bring her to me safely. I did not tell you to terrorize her. And I certainly did not tell you to wave a gun around in a subway station like a common thug. Sir, she was running. We had to stop her. The man in the black coat moved. It was a blur. 1 second he was 10 feet away. The next, he was standing directly in front of the gunman. He didn't punch. He didn't kick. He simply reached out, grabbed the man's wrist, and twisted. Crack! The sound of the bone breaking echoed louder than the train would have. The gunman dropped to his knees, screaming, the weapon clattering across the concrete. The man in the black coat didn't even look winded. He adjusted his cufflink. Then he finally turned his eyes to Nia. For a moment, the world stopped spinning. He looked at her not as a nuisance, not as a victim, but as a puzzle. He took in her frayed coat, her defiant stance, the way she was still shielding the space behind her even though the threat was on his knees. You can step aside now, he said. Nia didn't move. Her legs felt like water, but she locked her knees. No. The man blinked. A flicker of surprise crossed his stoic features. No. She is terrified of you, Nia said. Her voice was shaking, but she forced the words out. Look at her. She is shaking. The man's jaw tightened. He looked past Nia. His face softened, just a fraction. A hairline fracture in the ice. Hannah, he said softly. He spoke in English, then switched to Korean. Hannah, Appa is here. It is safe now. Come here. From behind the cello case, a small whimper. The little girl didn't move. She clutched Nia's coat tighter. The man looked back at Nia. Pain flashed in his eyes. Raw, human pain. She is mute, he said. She hasn't spoken in 6 months. Please, I am her father. I am not going to hurt her. There was something in his voice. Desperation. The same desperation Nia felt every time she looked at her bank account. She looked down at the girl. Hey, she whispered. Is that your papa? The The girl hesitated. Then, slowly, she nodded. Nia exhaled. A breath she felt she had been holding for 10 years. She stepped aside. The man didn't rush. He knelt on the dirty floor, ruining his expensive trousers. He held out his arms. Hannah ran to him. She buried her face in his neck, her small body heaving with silent sobs. He wrapped his arms around her, closing his eyes, and for a second, he wasn't a terrifying figure in a black coat. He was just a father who had found his heart walking outside of his body. He held her for a long time. Then he stood up, lifting her effortlessly. He looked at Nia. "I am Kang Seo-jun," he said. "Nia Kimathi. Miss Kimathi. You stood between a gun and my daughter. You saved her when my own men failed. I am in your debt." Nia shook her head. She was starting to crash now. The adrenaline was fading, leaving her trembling. "You don't owe me anything. Just take better care of her." Seo-jun narrowed his eyes. He looked at the gunmen, who were now retreating up the stairs, supporting their injured comrade. Then he looked back at Nia. "It is not safe for you here," he said. Those men were incompetent, but they were not the only ones looking for her. If my enemies saw you protecting her, they might think you are involved. You need to leave. I am waiting for the train. There is no train coming for another hour, and my car is outside. Let me drive you home. No. Nia gripped her cello case. I don't get in cars with strangers, especially strangers who break bones with their bare hands. Seo-jun almost smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was sharp, a wise policy. But consider this. You are alone. It is freezing. And you have just witnessed a violent altercation involving the Cheonse syndicate. If the police come, they will ask questions you do not want to answer. If my enemies come, they will not ask questions at all. Nia looked at the stairs. She looked at the empty platform. She looked at Hannah, who was watching her with big, teary eyes. "Fine," Nia said, "but I sit in the back, and you keep your hands on the wheel." Seo-jun nodded. Agreed. The car was a phantom. A black sedan with tinted windows and seats made of leather softer than Nia's bedsheets. It was warm inside, dangerously warm. Nia sat in the back, her cello case next to her. Hannah refused to let go of her father, so she sat on his lap in the front passenger seat while the driver navigated the slick streets. "Where to?" Seo-jun asked. "Bronzeville, 47th and King." He didn't comment on the neighborhood. He didn't sneer like her classmates did when they found out where she lived. He just nodded to the driver. The ride was silent. Nia watched the city blur past. The lights of the skyscrapers reflected in the wet pavement like spilled jewels. She felt like an intruder in this car, a smudge of dirt on a pristine canvas. When they arrived at her building, Seo-jun looked out the window. The street lights were broken. There was trash piled on the curb. A group of men stood on the corner, warming their hands over a barrel fire. "You live here?" he asked. "It is what I can afford." Nia opened the door. "Thank you for the ride." "Wait." Seo-jun reached into his coat pocket. He pulled out a card. Black cardstock, gold lettering, just a name and a number. "If you ever need anything," he said, "anything at all, call me." Nia took the card. Her fingers brushed his. His skin was warm, too warm. "I won't need anything," she said. "I take care of myself." "Everyone needs something, Miss Kimathi. Everyone breaks eventually." Nia got out of the car. She watched the taillights disappear into the mist. She told herself that was the end of it. She told herself she would never see the man with the dead eyes again. She was wrong. 2 days later, the world ended. It started with a knock on the door. Not a polite knock. A pounding. Nia was studying for her anatomy final, wearing 3 sweaters because the heat was out again. She opened the door to find her landlord, Mr. Henderson, standing there with a clipboard and a scowl. "You're out," he said. "What?" Nia blinked. "What are you talking about? My rent is paid until the 1st. "Not anymore. Your uncle called. Said he withdrew his guarantee. Said he isn't covering for you anymore. And since you don't make enough on paper to qualify for this unit alone, the lease is void. You can't do this." Nia's voice rose. "It is illegal. You have to give me 30 days notice." "I gave you notice." He shoved a piece of paper at her. I posted on the door 3 days ago. Maybe it fell off. Not my problem. You have 2 hours to clear out before I change the locks. 2 hours. Nia tried to call her uncle. The number went straight to voicemail. She tried her aunt. Blocked. She tried the restaurant where she worked part-time. The manager picked up. Nia, look, I can't talk. Your uncle, he knows people in the business association. He told us if we keep you on, he will pull the supply contracts. I'm sorry, kid. We have to let you go. Nia stood in the middle of her tiny apartment, the phone slipping from her hand. It wasn't just an eviction. It was an erasure. Her uncle wasn't just cutting her off. He was salting the earth so nothing could grow. He wanted her to crawl back to him. He wanted her to beg. She would rather freeze. She packed her life into 2 suitcases. Her clothes, her books, her mother's Bible, and, of course, the cello. The cello was the hardest part. It was bulky. It was fragile. It was the only thing she loved. 2 hours later, she was on the sidewalk. It was snowing now. Wet, heavy flakes that turned to slush the moment they hit the ground. She had nowhere to go. No friends. She worked 2 jobs and studied full-time. She didn't have time for friends. No family. She walked. She walked until her feet were numb. She dragged her suitcases to a 24-hour laundromat on 35th Street. She bought a soda just so she could sit inside. She sat there, watching the clothes spin in the dryers, watching the homeless men sleeping in the corners, watching her own reflection in the glass. Is this it? She thought. Is this my life? 20 years old and sleeping in a laundromat with cello I can't play? Night turned into day. The attendant kicked her out at 6 a.m. No loitering. She spent the day in the public library, pretending to read, fighting the exhaustion that pulled at her eyelids. She was hungry. Her stomach cramped, a dull, insistent ache. She had $12 in her pocket. That had to last. How long? A week? A month? By the second night, the cold had settled into her bones. She was sitting on a bench in Millennium Park, huddled under her coat. The city was beautiful around her. The beam reflected the skyline. Tourists laughed and took selfies. They looked right through her. To them, she was just part of the scenery, just another shadow in the city of wind. She reached into her pocket to check for loose change. Her fingers brushed against something stiff. The black card. Kang Seo-jun. She pulled it out. The gold letters shimmered under the streetlight. Everyone breaks eventually. Nia stared at the card. Calling him felt like defeat. It felt like proving her uncle right, that she couldn't make it on her own. But then a gust of wind hit her, so cold it felt like a slap. Her teeth started to chatter. She looked at her cello case. The humidity and the cold would warp the wood. It would ruin the instrument. She could survive the cold. Her cello could not. Nia stood up. She walked to a payphone. Her cell had died hours ago. She put in her last quarters. She dialed the number. It rang once. Yes? The voice was instant. Alert. Mr. Kang? Nia's voice cracked. She hated how weak she sounded. It is Nia, the girl from the subway. Where are you? I don't need money. I don't have anywhere to put my cello. It is going to freeze. Can I leave it in your garage? Just for a few days? Until I find a place? Where are you, Nia? I am at Millennium Park. Near the bean. Stay there. Click. He hung up. Nia leaned her forehead against the cold metal of the payphone booth. She squeezed her eyes shut, fighting the tears. She had promised herself she wouldn't cry. Crying didn't pay rent. Crying didn't keep you warm. 20 minutes later, the black phantom pulled up to the curb. Nia expected a driver. She expected an assistant. She did not expect the back door to open and Kang Seo-jun to step out into the snow. He wasn't wearing a coat this time, just a charcoal suit that fit him like a second skin. He walked toward her, ignoring the tourists who stared at him. He looked angry, not at her, but at the situation, at the universe. He stopped in front of her. He looked at the suitcases. He looked at her blue lips. You've been out here for 2 days, he stated. I am fine. Nia tried to stand straight, but she swayed. I just need a place for the cello. Get in the car. I can't. I smell like the laundromat. I am dirty. He didn't let her finish. He reached out and took the cello case from her hand. He handed it to the driver who had appeared silently beside him. Then he took her suitcase. Get in the car, Nia, or I will pick you up and put you in it myself. She got in. The heat in the car hit her like a physical blow. It was so warm she felt dizzy. Seo-jun got in beside her. He looked at the driver. Home. He didn't speak to her for the first 10 minutes. He let her thaw. He let her stop shaking. Then he opened a compartment in the armrest and pulled out a bottle of water and a protein bar. Eat. Nia tore open the wrapper. She ate it in 3 bites. She drank the water so fast she choked. Slowly, Seo-jun said. He watched her, his dark eyes unreadable. Who did this to you? My uncle. He made some calls. Got me evicted. Got me fired. Why? Because I wouldn't be his servant. Because I wanted to be more than what he decided I should be. Seo-jun looked out the window. His jaw flexed. Family. The greatest source of pain a human can endure. Where are we going? Nia asked. My home. I can't pay you. I have $12. I do not want your $12. Then what do you want? Seo-jun turned to her. The streetlights played across his face, highlighting the sharp angles of his cheekbones. I want my daughter to sleep through the night, and you are the only thing that has worked. The penthouse was not a home. It was a fortress of glass and steel perched on top of the city. The elevator opened directly into the living room. It was massive. The floors were white marble. The furniture was sleek, modern, and looked like it had never been sat on. The view of Lake Michigan was breathtaking, a vast expanse of black water meeting the black sky. But it was cold, not freezing like outside, but emotionally cold. It felt sterile, like a museum where you weren't allowed to touch anything. Seo-jun led her down a hallway. He opened a door. This is the guest wing, he said. It has a bedroom, a bathroom, and a small studio. You will stay here. Nia stepped inside. The room was bigger than her entire apartment. The bed looked like a cloud. There were fresh towels folded on the dresser. What is the catch? Nia asked, turning to face him. Powerful men don't give things away for free. You are right. There is a catch. Seo-jun leaned against the doorframe. You are not a guest. You are an employee. Doing what? Being present. He crossed his arms. Since the night at the subway, Hannah has been asking for the lady with the big violin. She drew a picture of you. It is the first time she has drawn anything other than nightmares in months. You want me to babysit? I have nannies. They are qualified, certified, and useless. They are terrified of me, and Hannah senses it. She needs someone who is not afraid. Someone who stood up to a gun for her. Nia looked at the bed. She looked at Seo-jun. She was exhausted. She was broken. But she wasn't stupid. I have school, she said. Nursing classes. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I will have a driver take you. I will pay your tuition. And I need time to practice my cello. The walls are soundproof. Practice as much as you like. Nia bit her lip. And what exactly do I have to do? Just be here. In the afternoons. Play for her. Talk to her. Eat dinner with us. Show her that the world is not just men in suits and violence. It sounded too good to be true. And in Nia's experience, when something sounded too good to be true, it usually ended with a knife in the back. But she looked at her cello case, standing in the corner. She looked at the snow falling outside the window. Okay, she whispered. Okay, good. Seo-jun pushed off the doorframe. Get some sleep. Tomorrow, you meet the monster properly. Life in the glass fortress began quietly. Hannah was a ghost in her own house. She moved silently, always hugging walls, always clutching her rabbit. When she saw Nia the next morning, her eyes lit up. It wasn't a smile, not quite, but it was a spark. Nia sat on the floor of the living room. She didn't force Hannah to talk. She just unzipped her cello. Do you remember this? Nia asked softly. Hannah nodded. It has a name. It is called a cello. But in my village in Cameroon, my grandfather used to say instruments have souls. So I call her Bessie. Hannah giggled. A tiny, rusty sound. Nia played. She played Bach. She played scales. She played the folk songs her mother used to hum while cooking. The music filled the sterile white room, bouncing off the glass walls, warming the air. Hannah crept closer. Eventually, she sat right next to Nia, resting her head on Nia's knee, feeling the vibrations of the wood. Seo-jun was rarely there during the day. He was a shadow, leaving before dawn and returning after dark. But the staff, a housekeeper named Mrs. Lee and a chef named Marco, treated him with a reverence that bordered on fear. Mr. Kang does not like noise, Mrs. Lee warned Nia. Mr. Kang does not like mess. Mr. Kang eats at 8 p.m. sharp. Nia learned the rhythm of the house. It was a rhythm of fear. Everyone was walking on eggshells, waiting for the master to snap. But Nia was too tired to walk on eggshells. One evening, 2 weeks into her stay, the chef was sick. Mrs. Lee was in a panic. Mr. Kang is coming home in an hour. What will we do? He expects dinner. I can cook, Nia said. Oh no, miss. You don't know his palate. He likes... I will cook, Nia insisted. She missed the kitchen. She missed the smells of home. She went into the massive industrial kitchen. She found peppers. She found chicken. She found spices that looked untouched. She made pepe soup, a spicy broth-based soup from West Africa that could clear your sinuses and heal your soul. She made jollof rice, the bottom of the pot slightly burnt just the way it should be for that smoky flavor. When Seo-jun came home, the penthouse smelled different. It didn't smell like lemon pledge and silence. It smelled like ginger, Scotch bonnet peppers, and thyme. He walked into the dining room. He stopped. Nia and Hannah were already seated. Hannah was eating with her hands, messy and happy. What is this? Seo-jun asked, looking at the steaming bowl. Dinner. Nia said, Marco is sick. Sit down before it gets cold. Mrs. Lee looked like she was about to faint in the corner. No one told Kang Seo-jun to sit down. Seo-jun looked at Nia. He looked at the soup. He sat down. He took a spoon. He tasted it. Nia watched him. The spice was significant. Most people coughed on the first bite. Seo-jun didn't cough. He closed his eyes for a second. Then he took another bite. And another. It is hot, he said quietly. It is supposed to be. It burns the bad things out. He looked at her across the table. His eyes were dark, intense. You are trying to kill me, Miss Kimathi. If I wanted to kill you, I wouldn't use soup. I would use the stairs. They're very slippery in socks. Hannah let out a loud laugh. A real laugh. Seo-jun froze. He looked at his daughter. He looked at Nia, who was smiling mischievously. And for the first time, the corner of his mouth twitched upward. It is good, he said. Thank you. That night, after Hannah was asleep, Nia went to the kitchen to get water. She found Seo-jun on the balcony. He was smoking a cigarette, looking out at the city. He wasn't wearing his suit jacket. His white shirt was unbuttoned at the collar, sleeves rolled up. He looked human. You're still awake, he said, not turning around. Nursing exams, Nia said, leaning against the glass door. And I heard you pacing. I do not pace. You do. You walk like a tiger in a cage. Seo-jun turned. The smoke swirled around him. You are very observant. It is a dangerous quality. Why are you so unhappy? Nia asked. The question slipped out before she could stop it. You have everything. Money, power, a view that people would kill for. I have everything, Seo-jun corrected, except peace. What happened to her mother? Seo-jun flicked the cigarette ash over the railing. She died 2 years ago. A car bomb meant for me. Nia sucked in a breath. Oh, God. And Hannah? She was in the car. She saw it happen. She hasn't spoken since that day. Not a word. Until she met you. Nia felt a heavy weight settle in her chest. That is why you are so protective. Protective? Seo-jun laughed bitterly. I am a jailer. I keep her in this tower to keep her safe. But I am killing her spirit. I see that now. He walked toward the door. He stopped right in front of Nia. He smelled of smoke and expensive cologne and something else. Sadness. You are bringing her back to life. Nia, I don't know how you are doing it. I don't know if it is the music or the soup or just your stubborn refusal to be afraid. But you are saving her. I am just being her friend. Seo-jun looked down at her. His gaze dropped to her lips, then back to her eyes. The tension was sudden and suffocating. Be careful, Nia. Of what? Of me. I am not a good man. I destroy things. I don't want to destroy you. He walked past her, disappearing into the shadows of the hallway. Nia stood there, her heart pounding, feeling the heat of him long after he was gone. Weeks turned into months. The snow melted into the gray slush of March. Nia fell into a routine. School, practice, henna, and Seo-jun. They became strange bedfellows in the glass fortress. They developed a rhythm. He would come home, tired and wired, and she would be there, reading on the couch or playing the cello. The tension didn't vanish, but it changed. It became a hum, a low-frequency vibration that connected them. One night, Seo-jun came home late, very late. It was 3 a.m. Nia woke up to the sound of crashing in the hallway. She ran out. Seo-jun was leaning against the wall, clutching his left arm. Blood was seeping through his white shirt, stark and terrifying. Seo-jun, Nia rushed to him. Go back to bed. He gritted out. His face was pale, sweat beading on his forehead. You are bleeding. It is a scratch. I handled it. You are dripping blood on the marble. Sit down. Nia didn't wait for permission. She grabbed his uninjured arm and guided him to the kitchen island. She ran to her room and grabbed her nursing kit, the one she wasn't supposed to have yet. She cut the shirt open. It wasn't a scratch. It was a slice. Deep, clean, made by a knife. This needs stitches, Nia said, her voice shaking slightly. We need to go to the hospital. No hospital. No police. Fix it. I am a student, Seo-jun, not a surgeon. You have steady hands. I have seen you play. To sew it up, he poured himself a glass of whiskey and drank it straight. Do it. Nia cleaned the wound. Her hands hovered over his skin. His bicep was hard as rock, the muscle twitching involuntarily. She threaded the needle. This is going to hurt. I know. She began to stitch. He didn't flinch. He didn't make a sound. He just watched her face. He watched her bite her lip in concentration. He watched her eyes narrow. Why you stay? He asked, his voice rough. Focusing, Nia muttered, you could have taken the tuition money and left. You could have run away. Why are you here? Sewing up a gangster in the middle of the night. Nia tied the knot. She snipped the thread. She taped the gauze over the wound. Because you are the only person who came for me when I was in the cold, she said softly. Because you gave me a home when my own blood threw me out. She looked up. Their faces were inches apart. The adrenaline was fading, leaving behind a raw, electric intimacy. Seo-jun reached out with his good hand. He touched her cheek. His thumb traced her jawline. You are a fool, Nia Kimathi. Maybe, she whispered. He leaned in. Nia's breath hitched. She wanted him to kiss her. She wanted it with a hunger that scared her. But he pulled back. He stood up, swaying slightly. Thank you, he said stiffly. Get some rest. He walked away, leaving Nia sitting on the bar stool with blood on her hands and a fire in her heart. The next day, a package arrived for her. It was a dress, emerald green silk, and a note. Asterisk, there is a charity gala tonight. I am expected to attend. I hate these things. Come with me. Be my shield. Asterisk. Nia put on the dress. It fit perfectly. She looked in the mirror and didn't recognize herself. The girl in the thrift store coat was gone. In her place was a woman who looked like she belonged in a palace. When she walked into the living room, Seo-jun was waiting. He was wearing a tuxedo. He turned when he heard her heels on the marble. He stopped. He stared. For a long moment, he forgot to breathe. You look. He started, then cleared his throat. You look adequate. Nia smiled. You don't look so bad yourself, boss. They went to the gala. It was a sea of diamonds and fake smiles. Nia stuck close to Seo-jun. She saw the way people looked at him, with fear and respect. And she saw the way they looked at her, with curiosity and disdain. Who is she? She heard a woman whisper. The help? Seo-jun heard it too. He stopped. He put his hand on the small of Nia's back. He pulled her close. This is Nia. He introduced her to the mayor of Chicago. She is with me. The way he said it, asterisk, she is with me, asterisk, sounded like a threat to anyone who dared to disrespect her. They danced. Seo-jun held her firm and close. They moved together effortlessly, as if they had been dancing for years. They are staring, Nia whispered. Let them stare, Seo-jun murmured against her ear. Let them wonder. Wonder what? Wonder how a man with blood on his hands managed to catch a star. Nia looked at him. In the middle of the crowded ballroom, under the crystal chandeliers, she realized the truth. She wasn't just grateful to him. She wasn't just working for him. She was falling in love with him. And that was the most dangerous thing she could possibly do. Because while they danced, a man watched from the balcony. A man with a snake tattoo on his neck. He watched Seo-jun smile. He watched Seo-jun look at Nia with naked adoration. And he smiled. He has a weakness. The man whispered into his phone. Finally, the monster has a heart. Find out who she is. Find out where she comes from. And bring me her family. Nia laughed at something Seo-jun said, throwing her head back. She didn't feel the crosshairs settling on her back. She didn't know that her happiness was about to become the weapon that would destroy them both. The music swelled. The dance continued. But the shadows were lengthening, and the cello song was about to turn into a scream. Look at me, uncle. Look me in the eye and tell me you didn't do this. I had no choice, Nia. You don't understand. I owe them money. A lot of money. And they said if I just gave them you, the debt would be wiped clean. So that is what I am worth to you? A gambling debt? You raised me. You brought me to this country. And now you are selling me to men with knives? You were always trouble, Nia. Always with that cello. Always with your head in the clouds. You were supposed to be useful. Finally, you are useful. That sound you hear? That is the sound of a heart breaking. Not from a breakup. Not from a tragedy. But from the realization that the blood in your veins means nothing when money is on the table. If you have ever been stabbed in the back by the one person who was supposed to protect you, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to the channel. Because we are about to find out what happens when you corner a woman who has nothing left to lose, and a man who is willing to burn the world to save her. This is a conclusion of The Shadow of the Cello. The morning after the gala was deceptively quiet. Sunlight streamed into the penthouse, reflecting off the white marble floors and making the whole place look like the inside of a diamond. Nia sat at the kitchen island, nursing a cup of coffee. She was wearing one of Seo-jun's oversized shirts, her hair wrapped in a silk scarf. Seo-jun walked in. He was already dressed for work, immaculate in a navy suit, but his eyes lingered on her. Good morning, he said. Good morning. Nia didn't look up. She was thinking about the night before, the way he had held her, the way he had looked at her on the dance floor. It felt dangerous. It felt real. Hannah is still asleep. Seo-jun said, pour himself an espresso. She drew another picture last night. Of us. You, me, and her. That is sweet. It is dangerous, Nia. She looked up then. What is? Hope. He took a sip of his coffee, his eyes locking onto hers. Hope makes you careless. It makes you think the winter is over just because you see one flower. But this is Chicago. The winter is never over. Are you warning me? I am warning myself. He set the cup down. I have to go to a meeting. Stay inside today. The Viper, the man I told you about, his men were at the gala. They saw us. I have to go to the university, Nia said. I need to pick up my transcripts for the nursing program transfer. It will take an hour. Seo-jun frowned. Send a driver. I have to sign for them in person. It is policy. Fine. Take the armored car. Take Yoon. Do not make any stops. Do not talk to anyone. Go sign and come back. I will be fine. Seo-jun. I am not a princess in a tower. No, you are something much more valuable and much more fragile. He leaned in, kissing her forehead. It was a chaste kiss, but it burned. Be safe. Nia watched him leave. She felt a knot of unease in her stomach, but she pushed it down. She was a survivor. She had lived on the streets. She could handle a trip to the registrar's office. The ride to the university was uneventful. Yoon, the driver, was a mountain of a man who didn't speak much. He waited at the curb while Nia ran inside. The campus was bustling. Students laughing, complaining about exams, drinking overpriced coffee. For a moment, Nia felt like a normal 20-year-old again. She got her transcripts. She walked back out into the crisp autumn air. She was 10 feet from the car when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She shouldn't have answered it. Seo-jun had given her a secure phone for a reason. But instinct is a funny thing. Hello? Nia? Is that you? The voice was ragged, breathless, familiar. Uncle Pascal? Nia, please. You have to help me. I am at the old shop. They are going to break my legs. Please, Nia. I am sorry for everything. Just come. They said if you come, they will let me go. Uncle, I can't. Please. You are my blood. Nia, my sister's daughter. Don't let me die here. The line went dead. Nia stood frozen on the sidewalk. Her uncle had thrown her out. He had erased her. But he was still her mother's brother. He was the last link to the parents she had buried in Cameroon. She looked at the armored car. She looked at Yoon. If she told Yoon, he would call Seo-jun. Seo-jun would say let him die. But Nia wasn't Seo-jun. She wasn't a killer. She was a nurse. She was a healer. Yoon, she said, opening the back door. I need to make one stop. Bronzeville. Miss, Mr. Kang said direct transport only. It is a family emergency. Please, 10 minutes. I just need to check on my uncle. Yoon hesitated. He looked at her pleading eyes. He sighed. 10 minutes, Mississippi. And I am coming in with you. They drove to Bronzeville. The neighborhood looked exactly the same. Gray, tired, broken. They pulled up to the old electronic repair shop her uncle owned. The open sign was flickering. Stay close, Yoon said, stepping out and scanning the street. Nia rushed to the door. She pushed it open. Uncle? The shop was dark. It smelled of ozone and stale cigarettes. Shadows stretched across the floor. Nia? Her uncle's voice came from the back room. She ran toward it. Uncle, are you okay? She burst into back room. Her uncle was sitting on a chair. He wasn't tied up. He wasn't bleeding. He was just sitting there, looking at the floor, sweating. Nia stopped. Something was wrong. Uncle? I'm sorry, Nia, he whispered. Then she heard the door click shut behind her. She spun around. 2 men stood there, massive, wearing masks. And behind them, leaning against the doorframe, picking his teeth with a knife, was a man with a snake tattoo on his neck. The Viper. Well, the Viper said, the cellist, you are prettier in person. Yoon, Nia screamed. Yoon isn't coming, sweetheart. My boys outside took care of him. Professional courtesy. Nia backed up. She bumped into her uncle. He didn't move to help her. He just sat there shaking. You. Nia looked at him. You set me up. They promised to wipe the debt. Nia. Pascal's voice was a whine. You don't know what it's like, living in fear. So you traded my life for yours? Nia, please. She slapped him. It wasn't a slap of anger. It was a slap of dismissal, of ending something. You are not my family, she hissed. You are nothing. The Viper laughed. Touching family reunion. Grab her. The bag went over her head before she could scream again. The smell of burlap and dust filled her nose. Strong hands grabbed her arms. She kicked. She fought. But then came the pinch of a needle in her neck. Darkness. When Nia woke up, she was cold. Bone-deep cold. The kind of cold she remembered from the subway station. She opened her eyes. She was tied to a metal chair in the center of a large, empty warehouse. High windows let in streams of gray light. Dust motes danced in the air. Her head pounded. Her mouth tasted like metal. Across from her, sitting on a crate, was the Viper. He was sharpening a knife. Swing, swing, swing. And in the corner, huddled like a rat, was Uncle Pascal. Sleeping Beauty is awake, the Viper said. Nia pulled at the ropes. They were tight, professional. Where is Seo-jun? She rasped. Oh, he is coming. The Viper smiled. We sent him a picture of you, sleeping, helpless. He is probably tearing the city apart right now. That is the point. Why? Nia asked. Why me? Because Kang Seo-jun is a machine. He doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't have weaknesses. Until you. The Viper stood up and walked toward her. Rumor has it he kept you in his penthouse. Rumor has it he looks at you like you are the sun. That makes you leverage. He won't trade his empire for me. I am just a girl he helped. We will see. The Viper reached out and stroked her cheek with the flat of the blade. The metal was icy. Nia flinched. "Don't touch her." Pascal shouted from the corner. "You said you wouldn't hurt her. You said you just wanted to talk to Kang." "Shut up, old man." The Viper roared. "You sold her for 50 grand. You lost your right to speak." Nia looked at her uncle. He was crying. Big, fat, useless tears. "Why?" She whispered. I didn't think." Pascal stammered. "You never think, uncle. You only take." Suddenly, the lights in the warehouse flickered. Buzz, buzz, pop, then total darkness. The Viper froze. He looked around. "What the hell?" Checked the generator. 2 of his men ran toward the back. Silence. Then a sound, not a gunshot. A thud. The wet, heavy sound of a body hitting concrete. Then another thud. The Viper spun in a circle, his knife raised. "Who is there? Show yourself." From the shadows near the ceiling, a voice echoed. It wasn't loud. It was terrifyingly calm. "You took something that does not belong to you." Seo-jun. Nia's heart leaped into her throat. A figure dropped from the catwalks. He landed in a crouch, silent as a panther. He stood up. He was wearing his suit, but the jacket was gone. His white shirt was rolled up to the elbows. He held a gun in each hand. The Viper screamed. "Kill him." 3 men rushed Seo-jun. Bang, bang, bang. 3 shots. 3 bodies dropped. Seo-jun didn't even break stride. He walked toward the Viper, his eyes black holes of rage. The Viper grabbed Nia. He pulled her chair back, pressing the knife to her throat. "Stop, or I open her up." Seo-jun stopped. He was 10 feet away. He looked at the knife. He looked at the drop of blood forming on Nia's neck. "Let her go," Seo-jun said, "and I will let you live." "Liar," the Viper spat. "You don't let anyone live." "True." Seo-jun tilted his head. "But I will make it quick. If you hurt her, I will take days. I will make you beg for death." The Viper's hand shook. The knife nicked Nia's skin. Seo-jun dropped his guns. "Okay, I am unarmed. Let her go." The Viper laughed. He thought he had won. He thought the monster was surrendering. "You are weak, Kang." "A woman? Really?" The Viper shoved Nia's chair forward, preparing to lunge at Seo-jun. That was his mistake. Nia didn't wait to be rescued. She slammed her head back, smashing it into the Viper's nose. Cartilage crunched. The Viper howled, stumbling back, the knife slipping. Seo-jun moved. He covered the 10 feet in a heartbeat. He didn't use his guns. He used his hands. He grabbed the Viper by the throat and lifted him off the ground. He slammed him into a concrete pillar. Once, twice. The sound was sickening. Seo-jun dropped the unconscious man. He turned to Nia. His hands were shaking as he untied the ropes. He pulled the gag from her mouth. "Nia." He touched her face, smearing a little blood on her cheek. "Are you hurt? Did they touch you?" "I am okay," she sobbed, falling into his arms. "I am okay." Seo-jun held her so tight she couldn't breathe. He buried his face in her hair. I thought I lost you." Then a shuffling sound from the corner. Uncle Pascal was trying to sneak toward the exit. Seo-jun stiffened. He pulled away from Nia. He picked up one of his guns. He walked toward Pascal. "No." Pascal screamed, falling to his knees. "Please. She is my niece. I raised her." Seo-jun stood over him. "You sold her. Like cattle. I was desperate. You don't understand. I understand loyalty," Seo-jun said, cocking the gun. "And I understand betrayal. You have neither." He raised the gun to Pascal's forehead. "Seo-jun." Nia's voice cut through the air. Seo-jun paused. He didn't look back. "Nia, don't look. Don't do it," she said. "He deserves it. He is vermin. He is my mother's brother. He sold you to a man who was going to torture you to get to me. He does not get to live." Nia walked over. She put her hand on Seo-jun's arm. The gun was trembling. "If you kill him," she said softly, "you carry that forever. Not the killing. I know you have killed before, but killing my family, that will be between us. Always." Seo-jun looked at her. His eyes were wild, filled with adrenaline and fury. What do you want me to do? Let him go? Nia looked down at her uncle. Pascal was weeping, a pathetic, broken man. Uncle, she said. Her voice was cold, colder than the Chicago wind. Nia, baby, tell him. You are dead to me, she said. You died the moment you made that call. Take your money, take your life, and run. If I ever see you again, if you ever call me, if you ever come near me, I will not stop him. Pascal scrambled up. He didn't look back. He ran out the warehouse door, disappearing into the gray afternoon. Seo-jun lowered the gun. He looked at the empty door. Then he looked at Nia. You are too kind, he said. It will get you killed. No, Nia said, leaning her head against his chest. It won't, because I have you. The ride back to the penthouse was silent. But it wasn't the awkward silence of their first meeting. It was the heavy silence of survival. When they got inside, Hannah was waiting. She saw the blood on Seo-jun's shirt. She saw the bruise on Nia's cheek. She ran to them, but she didn't cry. She grabbed Nia's hand and pulled her toward the couch. She patted the cushion. Sit. Nia sat. Hannah ran to the kitchen and came back with a wet towel. She dabbed at the blood on Nia's face. Seo-jun watched them. He stood by the window, looking out at the city that had almost taken everything from him. Nia looked up at him. We need to talk. Seo-jun nodded. He signaled for the nanny to take Hannah to her room. When they were alone, the air in the room grew heavy. I am leaving, Nia said. Seo-jun turned slowly. What? Look at us. Seo-jun, look at what happened today. I was bait. Next time it won't be me. It will be Hannah, or it will be you, walking into a trap to save me. I cannot be the reason your world burns down. You are the reason my world is still standing. Seo-jun shouted. He crossed the room. He grabbed her shoulders. Do not say that. Do not say you are leaving. I don't belong here. I am a nursing student. I play the cello. I don't dodge bullets. You belong where you are loved. The words hung in the air. Seo-jun froze. He hadn't meant to say it, but there it was. Naked, raw, truth. He loved her. Nia stared at him. You love me? Seo-jun dropped his hands. He looked defeated. Yes. God help me, yes. I have loved you since the moment you stood in front of a gun for a child you didn't know. I have loved you every time you played that cello and chased the ghosts out of this house. I love you, Nia, and I cannot survive this silence without you. Nia felt tears pricking her eyes, but it is too dangerous. Then we make it safe, Seo-jun said. He reached into his pocket. He pulled out a ring. It wasn't diamond. It was a band of black titanium, inlaid with mother of pearl. Marry me, he said. Nia laughed, a wet choke sound. Is this a proposal or a business deal? Both. He took her hand. Marry me. Become a Kang. In my world, family is untouchable. If you are my wife, no one touches you without declaring war on the entire syndicate. Let me give you my name as a shield. Let me give you my heart as a home. Nia looked at the ring. She looked at the man, the monster who had saved her, the father who adored his daughter, the lonely boy who just wanted peace. She thought about the cold streets. She thought about her uncle's betrayal. She thought about the warmth of this house, the music of the cello, the way Hannah smiled. She realized she wasn't running anymore. She held out her hand. Okay, she whispered. Yes. Seo-jun slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. He kissed her. It wasn't desperate, like in the warehouse. It was a promise, a vow sealed in blood and hope. Epilogue. 3 years later, the Chicago Symphony Hall was sold out. The velvet seats were filled with the city's elite. But in the front row, there was a block of seats reserved for men in dark suits who watched the exits with eagle eyes. In the center seat sat Kang Seo-jun. He looked older, a few gray hairs at his temples, but his eyes were softer. Beside him sat Hannah. She was 9 now. She was wearing a beautiful green dress. She was leaning forward, whispering excitedly to her father. Appa, look, it is Yama, Mom. The lights dimmed. The spotlight hit the stage. Nia walked out. She wore a gown of deep midnight blue. Her hair was braided in a crown, woven with gold thread. She carried her cello, A new one, an antique Italian masterwork that Seo-jun had found for her in Vienna. She sat down. She adjusted the end pin. She looked out into the darkness. She couldn't see the faces, but she knew they were there. Her husband, her daughter, her family. She closed her eyes and began to play. It wasn't a classical piece. It was something she had written. It started low and mournful, the sound of a cold wind blowing through a subway tunnel. It was the sound of loneliness, the sound of being invisible. Then the tempo changed. It became frantic, a pizzicato heartbeat, the sound of running, of fear, of a gun being cocked. And then the melody soared. It became rich and warm. It was the sound of a door opening, the sound of a soup bubbling on a stove, the sound of a child laughing for the first time in years. It was the shadow of the cello. But it wasn't a shadow anymore. It was a light. As the final note resonated to the hall, hanging in the air like a prayer, Nia opened her eyes. She found Seo-jun in the front row. He was smiling, a real smile. She smiled back. She had been abandoned. She had been erased. She had been sold. But she had survived. She had found the one hand in the darkness that reached back. Nia Kong stood up and took her bow, and the applause sounded like coming home. If this story touched your heart, if you believe that family is not who you were born with but who you would die for, hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to know they are not alone. And tell me in the comments, would you have forgiven the uncle, or did Nia make the right choice? I am signing off now. But remember, the next time you hear a cello weeping in a subway station, stop and listen. You never know whose life you might be about to save, or who might be about to save yours. Until next time,